Casas devastadas o que directamente han volado, han desaparecido. Es la destrucción que ha causado ya el tifón Hagupit, que anoche tocó tierra en el centro de Filipinas con rachas de hasta 200 kilómetros por hora. Hay en total 1 millón de evacuados.
Son las consecuencias de la peor tormenta que ha vivido en décadas la tercera ciudad de Australia, Brisbane. Vientos de más de 140 kilómetros por hora arrancaron tejados de cuajo, arrastraron helicópteros y avionetas y destrozaron el tendido eléctrico. A las fuertes rachas se sumó el granizo y la lluvia. En media hora descargó la misma cantidad de agua que suele caer en un mes.
The song goes, it never rains in Southern California. But the northern part of the state in America's Pacific Southwest is being battered with high winds and torrential rains. The storm's left a trail of destruction in its wake.
Cold weather has been causing havoc in eastern central Europe. In Serbia, emergency workers risked their lives, according to the electricity company, to mend power cables which had been brought down by high winds and ice up to 20 centimetres thick.
Smoke could be seen spewing up to a kilometre into the air over a day after Mount Aso erupted on Tuesday. Many flights locally were cancelled and people were advised to stay at a safe distance from the spreading ash.
La erupción de este volcán caboverdiano se ha convertido en una de las peores erupciones efusivas de las últimas décadas. La lava ha arrasado las poblaciones de Portela y Bangaira, con más de 1000 personas desplazadas que lo han perdido todo ante el avance de las coladas.
Un terremoto de 6,7 grados de magnitud ha dejado 39 heridos, 5 de ellos muy graves y cuantiosos daños materiales en Japón. El epicentro se situó a unos 200 kilómetros al noroeste de Tokio y se produjo a las 10 de la noche, hora local. Unas 40 viviendas han quedado, como ven, completamente destruidas.
Acelerar la acción climática es el objetivo de la Cumbre Mundial del Clima que comenzó el lunes en la capital peruana. Hay optimismo sobre la posibilidad de un acuerdo, no en Lima, pero sí que la reunión sirva para facilitar un documento común en la conferencia de París el año próximo.
Esta conferencia, la 20ª conferencia de partes, que ese es su nombre, ha sido un rotundo fracaso, evidenciando que las diferencias de criterio quedan reducidas a términos meramente económicos, con lo que parece difícil que incluso para el año que viene se pueda firmar algún documento digno.
Consejo de Ministros ha aprobado hoy fomentar la competencia en el sector del gas natural e impulsar la extracción de hidrocarburos del subsuelo con la técnica del fracking. Los dueños de terrenos recibirán el 1% del valor de la producción anual y habrá un nuevo impuesto por sacar petróleo del que se beneficiarán las autonomías. En cuanto al precio de las gasolinas, el ministro de Industria insiste en que la bajada del petróleo debe trasladarse a los ciudadanos.
This is killing us. This, ladies and gentlemen, is poison. Poison being dropped on us. Nobody's doing anything about it. Congress is not doing anything about it. But this is being dropped on them and their children and their grandchildren. So what is going on behind the scenes?
When I moved to the Pacific Northwest thinking I would find clean air and seeing these trails above that were blocking in some cases 60, 70, 80% of my solar uptake, clearly something was going on. And research led me to this subject. I began testing water, did not want to find these toxic heavy metals, but I did in ever increasing amounts. I'm in this fight because my children have no future if we don't stop this. And even if we stop this, we faced immense challenges, immense. There is even more climate engineering going on above the clouds on days like today. And we know this because it's coming down in the rain. These particulates are so small, they enter right through the lung lining, go straight into the bloodstream, and adhere to your cell receptors like a plaque. Again, we are all getting dumber by the day. And that's why, again, I focus on this issue. If we can't think clearly, what challenges will we face? None. We will face none. And as far as what the global elite do to exempt themselves, there are chelation methods available to them that we don't have. It's up to us to act. It's up to us to do what we can. Earth is now a toxic planet. There's no question about this. You can't hide from this. In fact, the only uncontaminated body of water on the planet is Lake Vostok in Antarctica because it's below a mile of ice. That's it. Nothing is uncontaminated, but the greatest single source is, again, climate engineering. All roads lead back to climate engineering. Why are the bees dying off? Colony collapse disorder. And I've spoken to the head bee people in the country, but they won't look. So why are the bees dying 1,000 miles into the wilderness? They're looking at a chemical, and chemicals are bad. But why are the bees dying 1,000 miles into the wilderness? We have a study from 2010. 1,000 whales from the most remote places on the planet that had, quote, jaw-dropping levels of aluminum in their tissue. There is nowhere to hide from this. How many have already died? How many people have already died as a direct result of these programs? Respiratory mortality in the continental US from 2005 to 2010 went from 8th on the list of mortality to 3rd. That's an astronomical amount of people. How many people have asthma? Alzheimer's. By the way, the Alzheimer's Association about a month ago refused to sell me a $500 sponsorship for their event because they told me in no uncertain terms they did not want me talking about aluminum being connected to Alzheimer's. So we did a little research and found out that elements of the aluminum industry sponsor the Alzheimer's Association. We have, with the geoengineering, weather warfare. We know that cyclonic suppression is not only possible, but being done. This is hurricane suppression and hurricane augmentation. We saw Cyclone Haiyan last year in the Philippines cut a swath through that island nation, and now the U.S. military is there under humanitarian pretext, but now they're setting up bases. Same thing happened in Pakistan. Same thing in Thailand. Thailand refused the U.S. a military base that they told Thailand was for weather monitoring. The Thai government apparently knew it was for weather manipulation. They refused the base. Thailand immediately found itself underneath record floods. So we know this is going on, and when you have climate engineering, you cannot separate that from biological warfare. You cannot. So we have a climate science community that is either clinically blind, in total denial, or lying for a paycheck. How can you have the largest scientific panel in human history, the IPCC, 2,000 climatologists, that cannot recognize this atrocity in our skies. How is that possible? It doesn't take a lot of consideration to answer this question. It's about power and control. It's always been about power and control. And we have leaders of nations on the floor of the UN stating that their country is being droughted out by NATO weather modification programs. This is fact, absolute fact. Our media does not cover any of this. The power structure, the military-industrial complex will never, ever admit defeat. Never. I talked to an insider with these programs. I can't release his name, but I published the conversation. And here's what he said. The government will never disclose these programs because they know if the public found out, and I'm quoting about verbatim, they would find those responsible and shoot them or hang them in front of a firing squad. They know how the public will react to this. If we're to have any chance for a living planet, we must stop this. We must stand together. We must take a stand together. One of the most incredible men that I feel ever lived, Martin Luther King, said there comes a time when silence is betrayal. And we are at that time now.